Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are listening to this. I know we've had some people listen to our first episode from across the world. And by world, I mean England and the United States. But if you listen to our first episode, thank you so much for joining us. This is the Standard Paradox podcast with myself, David, and to my right, I have the wonderful Connor.
That's right.
How you doing, man?
I'm here, man. Dude, I'm doing great. We got a sweet little setup, and so
yeah, it's nice. We got chairs today instead of having to lean over a wooden desk. We have nice leather chairs, and we are graced today by the one and only Luke.
Hello.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing good.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We're short of time today, so this is going to be a quick one because Luke has more important things to do than sit around and shoot the stuff with us.
That is not true.
Us
that is not true.
Peasants.
That is peasants. I like that.
You been having a good week?
I like.
Yeah, I've been having a good week, man.
Up to anything exciting?
Up to anything exciting this week? I mean, Halo multiplayer came out.
Yes.
You know?
Absolutely.
For all those Halo lovers out there.
I'm enjoying it a lot. You been playing it, Connor?
No, I have not actually. I've not been playing Halo.
So if you're a Halo player, just come join our Halo Discord.
Yeah, it's not got the same vibes as this.
No.
It's got more
anger.
Yeah.
Like most things on the internet. Drama, anger.
Right, exactly. But it's a fun game.
Grotesque violence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All the things that we're really striving for in the Christian community.
Well, if you want that, you need to join Connor's Christian Discord.
Yeah, it's with
community.
live groups on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah, man.
7 or 8:30.
How's that been going? Still going well?
Yeah, dude. It's a bunch of cool guys in there. It's different than usual context of life group, and I like it because we play games for a little bit, and then we jump into a discussion, and then we stop discussing and jump back into games.
Nice.
So, always fun.
That's cool. Well, my week's been pretty slow. There's been no football because it's the international break. So football's back this weekend, which I'm very excited about. Got my Arsenal jersey on underneath this hoodie. You can't tell, but it's there.
Yeah, who do you think's going to win, Auburn or Alabama?
God. I couldn't tell you. I really couldn't. Anyway,
That's what you're talking about, right? Football?
Yeah.
Yeah, that
It's
kind of
not, but anyway. Getting to the point. Luke, we have you in today. You're our first guest, so it's you're in.
Wow.
Yeah,
it's only downhill.
Consider
from
it
here.
an honor. Exactly. I met you through our church, Midway. Mm-hmm. I don't know I think you probably introduced yourself to me, or maybe Whit introduced us.
Yeah,
to the two of each other. But you are a teaching pastor here, as well as a man of many other talents. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, kind of what you're doing right now, and then we can dive into more what you've kind of experienced in the past.
Sure. Yeah. So I am a standard paradox of sorts. Is that what I was supposed to do?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, perfect.
Great.
he said the thing.
That's right.
But I'm a pastor by trade, I guess, a professional Christian. Also a personal Christian, but at least a professional Christian at that. And
You're not
so
a
I work
real
with
Christian. I'm a professional.
But I work with all the adults at our church, so like 18 to dead. You know what I mean? Like
That's a nice way of putting it.
Yeah, it's very, but and to be, I guess, to help people honestly obey, trust Jesus more, and walk through steps of faith in their life is kind of my job description. And then, I do teach and preach, however you want to say it, and rally everyone kind of around Jesus and the Word like that. And then, I've done other things. That's primarily what I do right now, but
Other things?
Yeah, like I wrote a book, and
You
I know
sure
what you want me
did.
to say, Dave. You want me to say I was in a Crystals commercial. That's what you want me to say.
That's where we were trying
Crystals,
to get you to
for
go.
all those international listeners that aren't, like up to date on southern fast food chains that only exist in the southeast United States.
So bad, man.
It's like a cheaper version of a White
You
Castle.
might be the best thing to ever come out of Crystal, to be honest.
That's probably that could be the truth.
In fact, I'm certain.
I'm burning
the.
I can hear the Crystal Bridge burning right now.
If someone wanted to find that ad on YouTube, what would they type in?
They got no chance. You would have to link them to it.
You found it before.
Oh, I mean, I know where it is. Yeah, and I know exactly what it looks like.
Just watch every single Crystal commercial that's been.
I mean, you guys put this on YouTube, right?
Been aired since what 2000?
Yes. Well,
you put it on YouTube. Just put the link in the comments.
I'll try. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Then they can all.
If you're watching this on YouTube, then in the description I will put a link to that video. Look out for Luke's air guitar. It's amazing.
Yes.
Also,
I'm completely baby faced. I don't have a beard because Crystal employees were not allowed to have beards.
Right.
You know.
And longer hair, right?
I definitely look 15. I was not 15, but I definitely look 15.
27.
I was like, 28. Somewhere in there. It's like when they shaved my beard off, the casting director was like, "Oh, it's
got a problem.
It's gonna look like we endorse child labor." I was like, "I'm sorry. I told you not to shave my beard."
Well, you mentioned that you've written a book. I have read said book. It's really, really good, and I'm not just saying that to like blow smoke up your butt. I enjoyed it a lot. It's not crazy long or anything, but it's a decent length. It's very specific, and I like how in that book, you kind of focus on. Would it be fair to say that it's about working through brokenness as a Christian and like how you kind of adapt to certain things?
Yeah. I think so. I think that's fair to say. I think the premise is that we think that life should get better when we're a Christian, and it does in a lot of different ways. But the idea of better, I think, a lot of times in our minds, involves like having more money or like having less problems, or really, even sometimes just being able to cope better.
Yeah.
And that's not necessarily what the Christian life means.
No, certainly not.
Yeah, so that's the main emphasis of that book is working through, okay, well, what does the Christian life actually look like? But then also, okay, what do I do in these moments where I feel like I can't breathe, or I can't figure out what's going on, which is funny because I was listening to a sermon the other day. I really wish I'd actually included this in the book, not the sermon, like to plagiarize it, but the concept was a really great idea because a pastor was talking about what he had learned from COVID-19. And I was looking at Connor, but he wasn't looking at me because he's focused on the details.
He's playing a video game right now.
Is he?
That
He's
would
like
be great if I were.
a level 18 night elf hunter on World of Warcraft vanilla. But we're revealing our gamer flags here. And so he said, I don't know what all this brokenness is about. He said, but I can tell you this: Jesus can relate. He said, do you know why Jesus can relate? He said, because do you know how he died on the cross? And we all assume like immense pain, bleeding to death, stapled to a board. You know what I mean? Like take your pick.
Yeah.
But in that time period, the Romans actually took pride in the fact of not killing people before they got them on the cross, because the real torture was suffocating to death.
Yeah.
And so he said something that was just very compelling to me. And the name of the book is Just Keep Breathing. But he said, Jesus knows what it's like not to be able to breathe, because that's how he died. He died of suffocation. So you have all these people that are suffering from COVID-19 or pneumonia brought on by that and are dying from not being able to breathe. And the Savior of the world knows exactly what that feels like.
Yeah, that's really good, man.
It was so the idea of what does God do to meet us in our brokenness and our weakness is a main idea in the book.
Yeah, and you say the title of your book is Just Keep Breathing.
Finding God's best in the brokenness
is
the subtitle.
I highly recommend it. I love the way you kind of wove in your own personal stories, and it has a lot of your personality in it, which I really like. Because you can kind of hear
which is very serious. And,
yeah, totally.
And never self-deprecating.
If you know yourself personally, if you know you personally, you can really hear your voice through the words, which I personally really like. But kind of speaking to the title of the book, Just Keep Breathing. I don't know if you're like comfortable talking about this or whatever, but you mentioned it in your book. That's not an accident, that the title of that book or even the artwork on the cover, right? Did you want to talk a little bit more about like why you kind of went with that title, sort of some of experiences that you've had growing up with certain things?
Yeah, I can. So I was diagnosed at 9 months old with cystic fibrosis.
Dang.
And so that was, for people that don't know, like the way I describe it in layman's terms is just like really bad asthma you can never get rid of. And it's not really that, but okay, let's go with that.
Right.
And affects a lot of different systems. It's I can't think of the word right now. It's genetic, so it's recessive. So you get it from both of your parents. Thanks, Mom and Dad. But it's something that I've dealt with my entire life. It's something that is part of my story, and it affects different outcomes, and things have gotten a lot better through science over the last 20 years or so. In life expectancy and just different things that they've come out with. But so when I was like born, the life expectancy was about 12, and then it bumped up to about 30s. And I don't think they really are comfortable describing what the life expectancy is now based off of some of the new drugs that have just come out in the last few years. I think they're very hopeful for a lot of those drugs that kind of like push the average age more towards what is the average time everybody dies.
Right.
But so that that's a large part of the conversation in the book, and the original title was Just Keep Breathing, because part of it is while we're alive we have a purpose, and God's calling us to do something and to lean into something. And so part of brokenness sometimes is enduring. And that's not necessarily, it doesn't sound like a hopeful message until you identify it in who the person of Jesus is and who God wants us to be. And so in that process, that's kind of how the book came around. That's a large part of what shaped me, even just spiritually as a professional Christian, throughout the years, because there were hours that I did treatments and had different times that I had to do things that other people didn't have to do, that I kind of, not in an overly holy or righteous way, but I just kind of devoted to God. And so I am, I feel in a lot of ways sometimes I'm equipped in certain times better than other individuals to deal with things because I sat in those quiet moments. And so, anyway, that's a little bit of that. I could wax on eloquently for the shortened period of time we have. But.
One thing I would like to know your kind of perspective on is we have a relative connection in the sense that we both have lifelong conditions that we've been diagnosed with, and I know for myself personally, there are days when I get.
Oh, I thought this was going to be like Maury. And you're going to be like, we have a relative connection? Like, actually, we both have the same dad. We're brothers.
But, like, there are some days where I get resentful. I get mad. You see people who are, seemingly perfectly healthy and, are doing just fine. And not that, I actually, you know what? It's true. Sometimes I get mad at God. I'm like, why am I in this position where I have to deal with this? Because it can seem unfair. And I'm sure that there are people listening to this who've experienced the same thing. It may not be an illness, but it might be some other thing that they've had to deal with in their lives. How do you kind of, I'm assuming you felt that way before, but like, how do you kind of reconcile with that in yourself whenever you feel that way and kind of come to a more positive outlook on things?
Yeah. So one thing I do is I talk about my relationship to my dad a little bit. I think I even talk about it in the book some. But just the relationship that me and my dad have is a special one. Me and my mom do too. But in regards to just like emotional support and a guidance, my dad was a bigger part of that spiritual journey. And but one thing that I always felt that I could do with my dad was I could just tell him whatever. And so, there's portions in the scripture where people are pretty disrespectful to God. Now, I'm not advocating being disrespectful to God. I'm just saying that I've been disrespectful to God. I've gone back later and I've apologized. But having the ability now, and this is the thing. So there's stuff like in the Psalms where people are disrespectful, but typically they're disrespectful in private and in places other than making a public spectacle. Right? So like the psalmist even says in Psalm 72-73, he says, I was so mad at God. I was like an angry brute beast. I was like huffing around and, angry. But I didn't open my mouth to the assembly of the people. I just kept it inside of me. And again, like, I don't think the idea there is repression. The idea there is it was just a me and God thing. And so he says, I'm really glad I did that because God came through in the end. And so I would have hurt others with my own hurt in that process. But what I hear from that also is the license when it's you and God, that's my caveat, but when it's you and God, to say whatever you want to say to God.
Interesting.
Because he's your father and he's your God. And so newsflash, guys. God already knows what you're thinking. You know what I mean? So you're like, I pulled it over on him. I was really mad at him, and I only told him half how mad I was. It's like, yeah, that's not how it works, bro.
Yeah.
And so, So, and the reason that's so important is religion is not a dance of how things are supposed to be. The conversation, the relationship with God and Jesus is about reality at its truest form. Is what it's really supposed to be about. That's why Jesus always goes back to, what did you do, right? Not what did you think, but what did you actually do for the poor? What did you do for the least of these? What is my story and my salvation and my hope do to you in relationship to your life, to others, the kingdom, and further out? And so a lot of times in America and in Western thought, and it's hard sometimes because we love to throw everything on the idea of Western culture and thought. We don't mean us, we mean Western culture and thought, right? Yeah. Even though we're a part of it. Is we go, we just think about things so much. And I think that's a lot of it is really one of the questions I always ask myself is, what changes about me when I believe this? And so if it doesn't change me, or if it doesn't actually affect me, maybe I don't need to get so worried about it, because that's the thing that I need to value more than anything else. So, it's because it feels really good to be like, oh, I'm a Republican, or I'm a Democrat, or I've got this really smart idea on this view, or I've got, regardless of whatever the subject matter is, I'm a world-renowned economist, because I know about Bitcoin and NFTs or whatever.
Dang, I wish I bought Bitcoin like 10 years ago.
Yeah, I know. Me too, bro. But, at the end of the day, what we're finding, I think, a lot in society right now is lots of people that know lots of things, they all act the same. And so Jesus was actually about the opposite life. He's like, you can actually know a lot less, but you should live differently based off the stuff you know. Dang. And so... that's. I mean, I know that sounds bad. Like the pastor saying, "We'll go root around and cuss at God and be mad. Do it privately." You know what I mean? Like, don't be like, "Hey, you know what? I think everybody should have to act this way," because not everybody's in the same place as you. You know what I mean? And that's a level of empathy and compassion you have to feel for community, right? So just because you're in a bad place doesn't mean you go in and wreck everybody else's life,
right?
But
don't do that.
But the openness and the honesty with God can be that, because the beauty of your God is he is strong, he is mighty, he is more than sufficient. You're not going to badger him to death. You're not going to discourage him. He knows where he's going. He's not intimidated by your problems. And so you can bring all that stuff to him. And like it says in 1 Peter, we talked about a few weeks ago, cast your burdens on him because he cares for you. All of them.
Yeah, that's good.
Especially the how you're emphasizing the live part, the do part, the how you act part of that conversation, because that's the idea with this podcast and bringing these conversations to light is, you think you should do this, you're in this cycle of, I feel like I'm always trying to be this or trying to go against the norm or trying, whatever that theoretical thought or process of thinking is, but what actually happens is different than that. And you can never get to the point where that ambition, that success, or that whatever culture tells you should be, even in religious circles, whatever that is that they tell you you should be, is what you're actually doing. You can't ever get, so it's just this cyclical nature of existence where it's just back and forth, where it's hard to actually fulfill that thought of what to do and then actually do that. And that's not what we're called to do, like what you were saying. That's not what we're not supposed to be these ambition, or how you say this, like you're not supposed to be this just pushing into a, I don't know what I'm trying to say here. You're not like supposed to be driving home the idea of, I'm going to achieve this, I'm going to be the most religious person, or I'm going to be able to stop doing this or start doing this or achieve that or achieve, like what is supposed to be this journey of progressing and getting closer to God as we walk through these stories. But and that's interesting that you said that, because what it told me was, look, sometimes what you're aspiring to be, it's not always going to be fulfilled. It's not always going to be the case, and that's okay. It's okay, because we're in this journey. We're in it together. As we're talking about now, the similarities in the stories is mind blowing. But like, we're in this journey and not just to achieve something or achieve success or whatever. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I talk about that even just a little bit in the book, where we talk about kind of like, what does it look like to pray for God's will in your life? Because I think a lot of times when you're wounded, or you're broken, or you're disappointed, or you're sick, or any of those things, you start going, well, it wasn't supposed to be this way.
Yeah.
And you're like, sometimes you blame it on yourself, sometimes you blame it on God, sometimes you blame it on others, but you're saying, okay, what do I do to make the right decision? You know what I'm saying? Like, so how do I choose right? Choose the right wife, because I made the wrong choice,
Yeah.
conveniently, like, so now I'm just going to get rid of that bad choice and make a new choice. Or, whether did I choose to live, even though I do think there's a level of choice and accountability in this, but like, did I choose to live an unhealthy lifestyle and now I'm sick, or did I, because it's the same way in the first century, right? So did your mother and father choose sin? Therefore, you're blind. You know what I mean? So, like, what level of brokenness was brought on you because of choice? And even though there is brokenness from our choices when we make unwise choices, the choices a lot of times are not moral versus immoral. You know what I mean? Or good versus evil. In the course of life. So, like, moral choices are good and evil, right? I'm going to lie to this person, I'm not going to lie to this person. I'm going to cheat this person, I'm not going to cheat this person. I'm going to love this person, or I'm going to, be evil to this person. Right. Those are moral choices. So that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the choices of the course of life, that then we look back and we go, man, I could have been happier if.
Yeah.
And so the truth is, I think, one of the realizations is, it's not about choosing right, it's about making right. So, like, the choice is actually neutral. And so it's then what we do with it and the perspective we bring to it and the level we're willing to sacrifice and work for it that makes it the right choice. Yeah. So, like, going back to the metaphor of marriage, like, people ask me all the time as pastor, well, how do I know they're the one? And I tell them, a lot of them I shock, because, they hear about God's perfect plan all the time. And I tell them, like, yeah, I believe in, like, God's perfect plan, and, like, I make it every day, based off of, was Jessica the one? Well, she is now.
Yeah.
Because I chose her. Mm. You know what I mean? So now I make that choice right. Yeah. Because I sacrifice, and I love, and I give, and I bring perspective to that. Yeah. You know what I mean? So in the choices of, like, what do we do in moments where sometimes even that choice is more limited? You know what I mean? Should I get chemo, or should I live out my life in a different way? You know, what things am I going to allow in my body, or I'm not going to allow in my body?
Yeah.
I think a lot of times we put a lot of emphasis on, well, is this the right decision? As if it's the outcome that it's going to, that this is the way to think it. What we're desperate for is control of the outcome. And what God tells us time and time again is you're not in control.
Yeah.
And so what God asks us for is to be trusting and obedient. And it's not to pull the wool over our eyes. It's not to make us less than. It's to realize the reality of the world, that we are called to be his people whenever the world is constantly changing. And so when we try to put flags down and say, like, oh, this is how we're going to be, that's typically when a movement of Jesus dies. You know what I mean? When it starts to establish its territorial boundaries and say, this is how it's going to be, this means you're in and this means you're out. That's when, like, you know, it's hard. It's an easy target is American evangelicalism. You know, you could write many books that sell on the Amazon bestseller list right now, as long as you demonize American evangelicalism. Because it's just such a big fat target.
Yeah.
Emphasis on the fat. But you know what I mean? So like that, what I'm saying is that process of doing that produces death instead of life. Because what you're saying is, oh no, we know how to save people. Didn't you mean God knows how to save people? Yeah, but we seem to be saying we a lot more. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You know, it's like, this is how you do church. Well, does it have to be that way? I can't imagine any other way of doing it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you go, really? Over the last 2,200 years of the church, you can't imagine that there are different contexts and different ways that make sense and do right. And, you know, part of that is our culture, because we think, oh, this is the next most right, most professional thing we could do. And we realize quickly how cyclical that is.
Yeah.
Like, we're actually doing some things that we did 50 years ago or 200 years ago, you know, and in some ways it's like what Solomon says. Yeah. There's nothing new under the sun.
Nope. That's why Apple just came out with square phones again.
Of course.
You know, it's that thing.
And why mullets are back in England.
Yeah.
What's that about?
England, yeah.
I saw a friend of mine the other day, post a picture.
So that would be a moral choice.
He has a mustache.
No, immoral.
Yeah,
immoral choice.
Yeah.
He has a mustache and a mullet. He's like 20.
England?
In England.
Yeah.
So disappointed. This is what happens when I leave.
Did you just walk up
I
to
was
that?
just holding that
You
nation
got back
together.
to England and you walked up to that guy randomly on the street and you said, "I'm just so disappointed in you."
I would.
chap."
I'd tell him. I'd be like, look, man.
Hey, what is the common greeting of a stranger in England? So, like in
Complete
America, I would
silence.
say it's
Stare at
bro.
the pavement.
Oh, really? You don't
Yeah.
talk to each other?
No, absolutely not.
You're all fellow Englishmen, but
Yeah.
you just don't talk to each other.
Yeah, no. I mean, if you in England, yeah, if you see a stranger on the pavement, you've crossed the street or look down at the floor.
Got you.
You don't say a single word. Look, we are actually riding up on the time in which you have to leave, Luke. So I guess that's it. I really would love to be able to talk more. I would. So maybe in the future we'll see if you can spare some time for us again.
All right. Maybe we could do a part 2.
Exactly. You know, we'll have to maybe pay him a bit more next time.
Yeah, double my salary.
All right. Well, thank you, Luke, for being with us. We really appreciate it.
It's been good.
We are definitely going to get him back.
Yep.
Whether that is today or in a few weeks from now or next week, whatever it is, because we were very short on time with him today. But we really liked where this conversation was going.
Yep.
So he will be back. We will continue this conversation.
Yep.
This may not have been a perfect episode, whether it was audio or whatever. You know, this is the first time we're doing it with an extra guest. So have some patience with us. We are very new at this.
Yep.
But I like to think that there is something in here for people to take from. So if you have listened to us rant on for the last 30 minutes so far, thank you so much for being here again. If you have been enjoying this, please let us know. You know, message us on Facebook. Leave reviews. I know you can do that on iTunes. Sorry, not iTunes, Apple Podcasts if you're doing that. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Leave some nice comments, things like that. I don't know what you can do on Spotify. I don't know if you can leave reviews on Spotify or anything, but
Not sure.
there's a notification bell. You can get that so you make sure you won't miss any episodes from us. We haven't been doing this quite as regularly as we maybe want to do in the future, but
It's getting there.
we're getting there.
Yep.
I think today was really good, and I think we have something.
Yep. Agreed.
So thank you again if you've been this so far. Any last thoughts, Connor?
Man, y'all have a great time until we come back again.
Absolutely.
See you guys.
Peace out.